Today is July 25th, 2012, and we are interviewing James Byrd at the Bloomington, Illinois Armory. Mr. Byrd is 78 years old, having been born on January 7th, 1934. My name is Sarah Ingalls. I will be the interviewer. Mr. Byrd, could you state for the recording what war and branch of service you served in?
I served in the U.S. Navy. I served in Korea and Vietnam both.
Okay, what was your rank?
Well, when I left the Navy and retired, I was E6 or GMG1.
And where did you serve again?
I served all over the world.
Can you give us some examples?
Well, I served on the USS Miller, DD 535. I served on that from 1951 until 1953, and then I went to Puerto Rico from 53 to 54. I got out of the Navy, stayed out of the Navy for 88 days, re-enlisted. I went sent to Joint Task Force 7, Washington, D.C. I stayed there from February, March, April, and then I asked for a transfer to a ship because I was not one of these typewriter thing people. Nice people there, but it just wasn't for me. I liked liberty, great liberty in Washington, D.C. and everything like that. And then I went from there to the USS Henley, DD 762. On that one there, I made a lot of med cruises, mostly back and forth, Norfolk to Med, back and forth, about 7 or 8 cruises to the Med over there for the 6th Fleet and stuff like that. And then one time we head up north to Scotland and went up to Oban, Scotland, Plymouth, England, and also above the Arctic Circle also. So that made me a blue nose. and I forgot to tell you, with on the Miller, on the World Cruise on the Miller, I also crossed the equator there, became a shellback.
Right. Well, what was one of your jobs or assignments?
Well, when I first went in the Navy, I was what they call a deck ape. And that was anything from sweeping the decks to painting and chipping, you know. Whatever they assigned me to do, that's what I did. It wasn't until after I re-enlisted and went in 55, when I went on the Henley, that's when I changed over and transferred, became a gunner's mate. And then my job was to work on the weapon systems and stuff like that. I didn't fire the guns. My job was not to fire the guns. My job was to make sure they worked. But see, when you fire a Navy gun, it's not just one person that shoots it. It's a teamwork. So it takes more than one person to shoot one of those guns.
Yeah. Okay. Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Yeah, I got the Good Conduct Medal on the Miller, and then I got the good. I think I wrote it down there at the bottom. Good Conduct, Armed Forces Expedition. I think I got 2 stars on that. Korea with 2 stars. United Nations and Vietnam with 1 star. And let me think a minute. Yeah, then there was the National Defense Ribbon. And in my days, we called it the Gaydon ribbon.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about personal life. How did you get along with the officers and fellow soldiers?
Oh, I got along good with the officers. In fact, I got one officer was on the holder that him and I emailed. We may not agree politician with each other, but we still keep in touch. And this Jim Thur and. He was on the holder also, and he was a lieutenant on there, and now he's a retired captain. He works for Wounded Warriors. But every once in a while, he'll send me an email, and I'll send him one, and so we kind of keep touch like there. And no, I never had no problem with any of the officers. I always got along good with them. I knew they had a job to do, and they weren't allowed to fraternize there. But then once we left the service, it's a whole different ball game then, But there's a lot of guys that just don't understand that. They take too much to, they put too much into it. I don't know how you call that, but because see, my brother was a major and was a captain in World War II. He was a major and he retired as a major, but he's been dead for quite a long time. In fact, he dropped dead of a heart attack when I was 23.
Oh.
I didn't know him that much because he was 21 when I was born.
Oh, wow. Well, did you feel pressure, stress, or anxiety?
Oh, every once in a while I get pressure. I feel pressure because that's why I'm filling out. I filed for PTS to the military, and sometimes I got a bad habit of blowing my stack every so often, depending on what the situation is.
Sure. Did you keep a personal diary?
No, I never did because I can't spell worth a daggone, and my writing is atrocious. I never had I never tried to keep one because it just didn't work out for me. Now, if I'd had something like this, I could have recorded back in those days. Problem is, I love these damn things here, but the doggone things, they come out 50 years too damn late for me. But I'm still learning.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
But I have a lot of guys that I run into that say, well, I don't know the first thing about a computer. I don't even know how to turn it on. I said, yeah, you just reach out there and push the button.
Keep a lid on it.
Don't worry about it. I'll be out there in just a
No, but
minute.
you left it in there with the lid off.
Okay.
Keep the lid on it.
You don't get all shook up there, Leo.
Were you able to stay in touch with your family?
Oh, yeah. Mostly by mail and stuff like that, you know. The only time we ever got our mail is when we'd come alongside of a tanker or a carrier. If they had what they called a cod flight to come on, they'd bring the mail into the carrier, then we'd come alongside the ship with our ship, and then they'd highline the mail over to us while we took on fuel. And then we'd trade movies and stuff like that. Sometimes we might get the same movie over and over again, but, you know, like one time on one ship I was on, I think I watched Haji Baba 25 damn times. That was during the Korean War.
Have it memorized.
Right. But that was a lot of good things, too. Or like the time I got drunk in Villa, France, and I was just a seaman apprentice on Cinderella Liberty. We stopped there, and we're going up these steps there, and I'm sitting up there, and we're having a few drinks and stuff like that. And at the time I was drinking wine, some characters, I don't know who, one of the guys with me, just being a smart ass, I guess, he was spiking it with beer, and I didn't know it. And by that time, next thing I knew, I'm going, pow! And this guy throws me over his shoulder, tries to carry me back down to the landing where the boat could come in, where the whaleboat come in to pick us up. And he'd fall, and I'd roll down these doggone steps, and I get down to the bottom. I just felt him slip me up, and then next thing I knew, I'm banging the bottom of that whaleboat. And oh, was I sore the next day.
Now, did you have plenty of supplies?
On the average, yes. We on the ships and stuff like that, we did. Yeah, we didn't do too bad there. I mean, there was a few times, you know, like we'd have to if we was in the yards or stuff like that. We used what they call midnight hardware. And the captain would send a bunch of guys around the yard, you know, the Comshaw stuff that they didn't have on the list. And then what we'd do is when we used to trade in the gun things too, I'd keep 22 caliber cartridges handy. So the Yardbirds just loved those. And we'd trade that for other stuff that we needed done in the gun shack or anything like that.
And what was the food like?
The food on all the ships that I served on was not too bad. It was pretty. I've got to give the credit to the Navy cooks. The conditions they cook under, they did a damn good job. I never had no problems with it. In fact, when I was in Korea, we had fresh eggs and fresh milk and all that. But then come to find out later on, the guy overspent, so the next crew followed along. The poor guys had to suffer for it.
Well, how did you entertain yourself?
How do I entertain myself? Well, if I'm not on the computer, I'm either reading a book or watching a boob tube.
And how did you do that? How did you entertain yourself on the ship?
Well, usually read a lot,
Yeah.
especially out to sea because there's nothing else to do. And so, you know, I just set up on the main deck when the weather was nice and just lay back on a life jacket and I'd read a book of some kind.
Any favorite books?
Actually, right now it just depends. Sometimes I'm reading. I like Cleve Closer, but I didn't read those back in. I used to read westerns back when I was in the Navy,
Yeah.
but then I kind of got away from them for a while. But you know, if I just pick up a book, you know, and I look at it, you know, well, no trips or trigger, I'll read it, you know.
Yeah.
But
What did you do when you were on leave?
what did I do on leave? I usually come home and see the family and stuff like that. That's what I normally did. I just looked around town and stuff like that.
Okay. Were there any entertainers that came to see your unit?
The only time they had entertained was with the USO shows when I was in Kodiak, Alaska. But they never had any on the ships that I was on because they were too small for something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you recall any particularly humorous or unusual event?
I'm not off the top of my head right now. I can't know.
Yeah, you told a few already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I pulled some stupid stunts while I was in the Navy. You know, like the one place we'd go to this place in San Juan, Puerto Rico, in Santurce, and it was just a shack with a roof over the top of it and no bathroom. You just peed in the ocean. and, but I got on a hell of a good drunk there one time. But I gave that up when I left the Navy and I turned 21. I walked into mid-rates down there. Bought my first legal beer. Drank took 2 sips of it and set it down and walked out. The fun went out of it. There was no more fun. And now that I'm a diabetic, I don't even drink anymore.
And what were some of the pranks you would pull, or did you have any pulled on you?
Well, I didn't have any pulled on me, but I helped pull someone on other people. I didn't actually start the prank, but they had this kid. They came running down to the compartment on this one ship I was on, and he was asking, where can I find the kerosene for the running lights? Well, they're electric, mind you. And I told him, I said, they're probably over in the machine shop where it's at, but you got to remember now, you got to ask for the red kerosene for the port running light, port running light, and the green for the starboard running light. And he still didn't catch on. But then one time they did try to pull a prank on me when I was at Joint Task Force 7, and they walked up there and they had me wanting looking for a paper stretcher. Well, I knew there was no such thing. I knew there was carpet stretchers, but no paper stretchers. So I just went in and sat there and shot the bull with this sergeant that was in there, and him and I sat there for a while, and they're looking all over for me, and they never tried that again.
Did you bring any photos you'd like to share or anything like that?
No, I don't. I don't have any. I got ship's photos at home, but they didn't tell me to bring anything like that. Okay. I didn't say anything, bring anything like that. I've got a whole bunch of ship photos, but I don't know. Okay. I'd have to print them off and everything, but the only problem is how do I get them to you? I mean, I could email them to you if that would work out, but I'd have an email address to do it with. So I can forward them like that and send them a PDF for how you want to do it.
Okay. Well, after the war, do you recall the day you were discharged?
Yeah, I was discharged out of Bainbridge, Maryland. I retired, actually we transferred to the inactive reserve April the 27th, 1970. But then I didn't end up on the retirement list until 1980 because you got to serve 10 years. You're still under obligation for 10 years after you get out. Mm-hmm. And then they give me my final physical here at Chinook Air Force Base, and now I'm on the full retirement list now. Okay.
And were others discharged with you?
Pardon?
Were others discharged with you?
No, well, they might have been, but I don't remember who they were. It comes out. In fact, I don't remember. I think I'm the only one that got discharged at that time when I did in Bainbridge.
Sure. Yeah. What did you do in the days and weeks after you got back from the war?
Well, after I got back, lived at my mother-in-law in Chinoa for a while, and come down to Bloomington here, worked at Byrd radio shop, and wasn't worth a damn there. And then finally Interlake started hiring, and that's where I went to work with, and that's how I ended up in Pontiac.
Oh, okay.
And I stayed 26 years there before I retired from there.
Oh, wow. And did you make any close friendships while you were in the service?
Some I did, yeah, not too much. I didn't really make too many close friendships because I was always afraid, something's going to happen to them or something like that. In fact, one of the guys that was on the Vega AF-59, he had got killed by a utility boat dropping on him, and I was on the quarterdeck at the time, and that's one of the things I followed him at PTS, because I can remember when they carried him off the ship there, you could just see the air coming out of his lungs, and they sliced him clear away down here. And it was raining. If it hadn't been for raining, the blood still would have been up there on that deck. It washed the blood off there. I never knew a person could have so damn much blood. But anyway, the guy that was with him, he's a good friend of his, and it really shook him up bad. So I never really made close friends, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I was just afraid something wouldn't work out right. So I just did that.
And you said there was a gentleman you still email with, though, right? You
Pardon?
send emails to?
Yeah,
there's a gentleman.
There's another gentleman out there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Vietnam veteran. He's a preacher. He's a ordained preacher. But he didn't have his paperwork filled out.
And so did you join a veterans organization afterwards?
Yeah, and well, I didn't really right at the beginning, no, because I didn't really know too much about it there. It wasn't until years later that I did decide to become a member of the VFW. And then, of course, when I became I joined the DAV because I had tuberculosis when I got out of the Navy. And still got that in my system. So that's what I joined the DAV under. But then I filed a claim on my right shoulder, and I finally got service connection on that for 30%. Then I just got service connection for 40%. With my diabetes, I'm 30% on that. Then I filed a combat CSRS, or you want to call it, and then I get 250. I get money from the Navy for the combat related part.
Okay.
And I'm still waiting on my other claims going through right now, and I filed an arthritis secondary to my right shoulder. So that's still in the works.
Are there any kinds of activities that the association has that you belong to?
Well, at the VFW, they do poppies and once a year, and then of course here they do the forget-me-nots in July and stuff like that. And so whenever I can, I try to help them with that there, and things like that. But trying to get people to volunteer for something almost impossible.
Yes.
Yeah.
How has your service and experiences in the service, how has that affected your life overall?
Oh, well, I learned how to take care of myself, and repeat that question, would you please?
Yeah. How has your service and experiences in the service, how has it affected your life?
Oh, I think it's really helped it. Yeah, it's helped it, quite a bit,
Yeah.
It helped it, it's given more, you might say that it has really, in a sense, before I went in the military, I was kind of hung back, and afraid to do anything, afraid to say anything. Now I don't give a damn. If they don't like it, they can just lump it. It's like Cleo running in here a while ago. Well, cool it, Cleo. They're not going to kick you out.
So, do you think you passed any of those on to your son? Because you have a son, right?
Yeah. Well, my son was in the Navy also. He served 6 years as a corpsman, but he got out. But the Navy military was not for him. But at least he tried. But he works for the post office now here in Bloomington. But now they're sending him to Champaign. So they're closing this down here up here where he worked at where they sort the mail and stuff. So he's going to Champaign now. But he said the biggest problem over there is that the people don't really. They think they're over there to take their job, but they're not. It's just a retransfer, and they're moving everything over to Champaign, and there are going to be more people coming in because it's much bigger than one here in Pontiac. I mean, here in Bloomington.
Okay.
So that's why they're closing it down. But yeah, he was in the Navy. He served as a hospital corpsman out in the West Coast, and then he was in Okinawa for a while too.
Wow. Well, is there anything else you would like to add? Any stories you have?
No, really, that's true.
Advice, maybe, or
Do what now?
Do you have any advice or?
Oh, no, I always tell guys that, like a young guy, I always tell them that if you're going to go in the military, keep this in mind: the military is not a democracy; it is a dictatorship. Which is true. It is a dictatorship because it takes a dictatorship to run a democracy. A lot of people don't stop thinking, look at it that way. And of course, we're not a democracy. We're a representative government.
Yes. You got it. Well, it was great to interview you.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Well, I'm quite glad I could do that there.
Very,
And maybe 100 years later, somebody will look at who the heck's this person?
Well, thank you so much.
All right, you're quite welcome.